Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean and Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin. I'm a certified health coach, trainer, and author. And this podcast is for middle-aged men and women looking to optimize their health and get their bodies back to what it once was 10 to 15 years ago. I will give you simple, actionable items to get long-term sustainable results. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin. I hope you had a great weekend and happy Tuesday. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, hope you had a chance to listen to my interview with Andy Baker. He's a gym owner, strength and conditioning coach, former professional powerlifter, and he's also co-authored a couple books. Tons of great information on this episode. We talked about the magic of setting a timeline for establishing your goals in the gym, also foods to help with performance, proper programming to build muscle, the importance of consistent rest between sets, which is something I've been really tracking since I've talked with Andy, and much, much more. So if you haven't already, check out episode 320, my interview with Andy Baker. And now on today's micro podcast, I'm going to jump on a study. Dr. Bill Campbell touched on this a little while ago, and I thought it'd be beneficial to talk about it. And let me just share my screen real quick so you can see if you're watching on YouTube. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to check out the study. Consuming eggs for breakfast influences plasma glucose and ghrelin while reducing energy intake during the next 24 hours in adult men. And so I thought this was an interesting study, not surprising, sort of comparing and contrasting two different breakfasts and how this can impact your hunger throughout the day and for the next day. What it pretty much did is it pinned the different breakfasts with the same amount of isocaloric count. So same amount of calories. And there was an egg breakfast versus a bagel breakfast and how this played a role in hunger. Because this is something I work a lot on with clients is, if we can find a way to control hunger, eliminate snacking, this is a great way to control body weight and impact body fat percentage. Also help if you're sort of trying to lose inches around your waist is, if we're snacking all day, it's going to be very tough to do that. And one of the reasons people snack all day is one, well, maybe it's out of boredom, but two, it has to do with their hunger levels throughout the day. And so that's why I thought this study would be advantageous for you, because I see this consistently with research around eggs, that they do a good job of suppressing hunger. And they also provide, obviously, high-quality protein and fats. And so getting back to the study, it took this egg-based breakfast consisted of 3 scrambled eggs and 1.5 pieces of white toast, and the total energy was 400 calories. So of those calories, it was about 22% carbs, 23% protein, and 55% fat. And they compared that to the bagel breakfast, which I'm sure everyone's fairly familiar with, which is 1 white bagel, a half a tablespoon of low-fat cottage cheese, and 6 ounces of low-fat yogurt. Total energy, 400 calories. The big difference actually in this one is 72% coming from carbs, 16% coming from protein, and 12% coming from fat. So a lot less fat, a lot more carbs, which could have played a role in this because that impacted hunger quite a bit. 3 hours after eating this egg or bagel breakfast, the subjects were fed a buffet lunch that consisted of white bread, turkey, American cheese, low-fat mayonnaise, and apples. They were encouraged to sort of eat until they were comfortably satisfied, and the amount of food consumed during the lunch was measured. What they found out was that the individuals that had the bagel breakfast consumed 655 calories during this meal, the second meal after the bagel, compared with the egg breakfast individuals consumed 545 calories. So there was a difference in how much they consumed in their next meal based on what they had for breakfast. And that was a 110 calorie difference between the egg breakfast and the bagel breakfast, the participants. So also, too, after the lunch, the subjects were also to record what they ate for the next 24 hours. And even during this time frame, the subjects consumed significantly fewer calories were the ones that had the egg breakfast versus the bagel breakfast. The ones that ate the egg breakfast consumed about 400 calories less than the people that had the bagel breakfast. And this was over 24 hours. So I think this was a really cool study showing that not only did individuals that have those eggs for breakfast, there was they consumed less energy intake throughout the next 24 hours, but it also had a better impact on their glucose and insulin and suppress their ghrelin response. So it just goes to show you that first meal of the day is really important. And I've talked about this with Dr. Don Layman in the past. He always recommended that high protein meal should be first thing if it's going to be anything. Sort of gets you on the right foot right off the bat. And as you can see, it impacted how you constructed your next your next meals, and how much you consume during those meals as well. And this over time can obviously make a big difference. So I will say this, the one thing to take is whatever that first meal is, it doesn't necessarily have to be eggs, but let's try to stay away from this standard American diet of bagels, croissants, donuts, things like that. If anything, save that for the second or the third meal if you're going to have that, and start having that first meal with, eggs. But if not eggs, even like a Greek yogurt or something that is higher in protein, this can sort of play a positive role in how much you're consuming the rest of the day, and also potentially what you're consuming. So, this was definitely a really cool study that showed that it definitely matters what we're eating first thing. And, keep that in mind for your next breakfast. And, now I'm not saying you have to eliminate bagels altogether, even though I don't eat any. Maybe save the bagel for another time during the day and have that first meal be eggs or something with higher protein content and even some higher fat content. Maybe some eggs with avocado is a great way to start the day. Yogurt, even yogurt with some fruit is not a bad way to start the day. But try to stay away from sort of those refined carbs early on in the day. And then I think you'll get off to a great start. So that's all I wanted to touch on today. I'll leave a link in the show notes if you want to check out the study regarding this. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, brian@briangrin.com. If you haven't already, check out my book, The Stepladder System. There it is if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're loving the podcast, feel free to leave a review. Would love it. I'm shooting to get up to 100 reviews, and we're on the way. So thanks so much for listening, and have a great rest of the week. I will talk to you on Friday with another great interview. Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangrin.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again, and have a great day.